My name is Brent, and I've spent the last 3 months planning the perfect dinner date. Not with my wife. That ship sailed when I found her Thursday afternoon receipts in her gym bag. No, this dinner was with Elara Trennix, a sharp-eyed accountant whose husband had been occupying my wife's schedule every week for the past 6 months. I sat across from Elara at Romano's, the same upscale Italian place where Nessa thought she was being clever. The irony wasn't lost on me. While my wife believed she was playing some sophisticated game of deception, I was 3 moves ahead, armed with credit card statements, parking garage timestamps, and her own digital breadcrumbs. "You seem nervous," Elara observed, cutting into her chicken marsala with surgical precision. Everything about her was measured, controlled, the opposite of Nessa's theatrical dramatics. "Not nervous," I replied, checking my watch. "Anticipating." Elara raised an eyebrow. She'd agreed to this meeting after I'd sent her a carefully compiled dossier of evidence. Photos of her husband Callan's car in our driveway, restaurant reservations made under his rewards account, text message screenshots that Nessa had carelessly left open on our shared iPad. The woman across from me wasn't here for revenge. She was here for closure. We'd spent weeks comparing notes, filling in the gaps of our respective spouses' deception. Where I'd found rage, Elara had found cold calculation. Where she'd discovered betrayal, I'd found opportunity. "How long have you known?" she asked. "Officially? 2 months. Suspected? Probably 6. I took a sip of wine, savoring the moment. Nessa's not as subtle as she thinks. The Thursday afternoon client meetings that never appeared in her real estate calendar. The sudden interest in fitness that coincided with joining Callan's gym. The way she started showering immediately when she came home instead of collapsing on the couch like usual. Elara nodded. Callan became obsessed with his appearance. New clothes, expensive cologne, mysterious phone calls he'd take in the garage. When I found the hotel receipts, I knew. What gave you the final push to reach out to me? When I realized they weren't just having an affair, they were planning something bigger. Elara's voice dropped. I found documents in Callan's home office. Printouts about divorce proceedings, asset division, even research on domestic abuse claims. My grip tightened on my wine glass. They were going to frame me. That was my conclusion. Create a narrative that would give Nessa maximum advantage in divorce proceedings. Your workshop, your tools, your motorcycle business, all of it would become community property she could claim under duress. The pieces clicked together with sickening clarity. Nessa's recent comments about my anger issues. Her strategic mentions of feeling unsafe during our normal disagreements. The way she'd started documenting every raised voice, every moment of frustration with her phone. "But you found out first," Elara continued, "and you decided to flip the script." "I decided to beat them at their own game." I pulled out my phone, showing her the carefully organized folder of evidence. Everything they did, I documented. Every lie they told, I recorded. Every plan they made, I intercepted. Elara smiled, the first genuine expression I'd seen from her all evening. "And now?" "Now we wait for the show to begin." As if summoned by my words, the restaurant's front door burst open. Nessa stormed inside, her face flushed with rage and exertion. She'd clearly run here from wherever she'd been, probably Callan's downtown condo, based on the timeline I'd calculated. Every head in the restaurant turned as she marched toward our table, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor like gunshots. She wore her power outfit, the black dress she reserved for closing important real estate deals or intimidating people she considered beneath her. "Brent!" she shouted, loud enough for the entire restaurant to hear. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" I set down my wine glass and looked up at my wife with the calm expression I'd been practicing for weeks. "Having dinner. You remember dinner, right? That thing married couples used to do together?" "Don't you dare get smart with me. Who is this woman? How dare you bring some random tramp to our restaurant?" The insult lingered, heavy and unmistakable. I could feel the other diners watching, their conversations fading as attention shifted to us. Perfect. Nessa, I said, standing slowly, I'd like you to meet Elara Trennix. Elara, this is my wife, Nessa. Nessa's eyes narrowed as she studied Elara, clearly trying to place her. I don't know who you think you are, but I'm Callan's wife, Elara said quietly. The color drained from Nessa's face so quickly I thought she might faint. She gripped the back of an empty chair, her knuckles turning white. I don't know what lies he's been telling you, Nessa began, but I cut her off. No lies, Nessa, just facts. Would you like to hear some? I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a manila envelope. Thursday, March 7th, lunch at Cafe Milano, 12:30 to 2:15, paid for with Callan's credit card. Thursday, March 14th, same restaurant, same time slot. Thursday, March 21st. Stop. Nessa's voice was barely a whisper. Oh, but we're just getting started. I opened the envelope and spread several photographs across the table. These are from the parking garage security cameras at the Riverside Hotel. That's your car, isn't it? The silver Lexus with the sold vanity plate? Nessa lunged for the photos, but Elara's hand shot out, covering them. I wouldn't, she said calmly. There are copies. You set me up, Nessa hissed, her voice rising again. This is entrapment or something. It's illegal. I laughed. Actually laughed. Entrapment? Nessa, do you hear yourself? You're not a victim here. You're a cheater who got caught. We need to talk privately, she said, grabbing my arm. This doesn't concern her. Actually, it concerns her quite a bit, I replied, gently removing her hand. See, while you and Callan were planning your little scheme, Elara and I were having our own conversations, comparing notes, filling in timelines. It's amazing how much clearer things become when you have all the information. Elara pulled out her own phone, scrolling through messages. Thursday, March 7th. Callan texted me at 1:15 saying he was stuck in traffic. But according to your receipt, he was already at Cafe Milano with Nessa. Thursday, March 14th. I continued. You told me you were showing a house in Riverside Heights, but your GPS history shows you never left downtown. Thursday, March 21st. Enough! Nessa slammed her hand on the table, making the wine glasses jump. Fine. Yes, we've been seeing each other, but it's not what you think. Really? I sat back down, genuinely curious to hear her explanation. What is it then? It's complicated. You don't understand the pressure I've been under. The real estate market is terrible. You're always in that garage working on those stupid motorcycles. We never talk anymore. So you decided to talk to Callan instead. He listens to me. He makes me feel appreciated. In hotel rooms. Nessa's face crumpled, and for a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Then I remembered the documents Elara had found, the careful planning, the deliberate manipulation. You want to know what I think is complicated? I reached into my jacket again, this time pulling out a thick folder. This is complicated. Divorce papers, Nessa. Filed this morning. Asset separation, custody arrangements, though we don't have kids, thank God, and a complete financial disclosure. Her eyes widened. You can't just... I can, and I did. Everything's legal and above board. I even had a lawyer review it twice. I slid the folder across the table. Your copy. I thought you might want to review it with Callan, seeing as how you two have been making plans together. Nessa opened the folder with shaking hands. As she read, her expression shifted from shock to anger to something approaching panic. The house will be sold. Proceeds split 50-50, minus my business assets, which predate our marriage. My studio. Your fitness studio lease is in your name. You can keep it, assuming you can make the payments without my income. You can't do this to me. I stood up again, straightening my jacket. I'm not doing anything to you, Nessa. I'm doing something for me. I'm choosing honesty over deception, self-respect over humiliation. Elara gathered her purse, preparing to leave. Nessa, there's something else you should know. Callan and I will also be divorcing. I filed papers this afternoon. But you two can work it out. You can forgive him. People make mistakes. Some mistakes, Elara said coldly, are choices. And some choices have consequences. I left money on the table for our dinner and walked toward the exit. Behind me, I could hear Nessa calling my name, her voice breaking with desperation. Other diners whispered among themselves, phones appearing as people recorded the drama. At the door, I turned back one last time. Nessa stood alone at our table, clutching the divorce papers, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. "Oh, and Nessa?" I called across the restaurant. "Your friend Pam from the real estate office? She's been keeping me informed about your activities for months. Turns out, she never liked you as much as you thought." The look of betrayal that crossed her face was almost worth the 6 months of lies and deception. Almost. I walked out into the cool evening air, Elara beside me. Phase 1 was complete. The next morning, I sat in my garage workshop, surrounded by the tools and machinery that Nessa had always dismissed as toys. The irony wasn't lost on me. This space she'd considered worthless was about to become my salvation. My motorcycle customization business might not have impressed her social circle, but it provided something her real estate career never could: independence. My phone buzzed with a text from Marty Fennick, my oldest friend and former bouncer at the Steel Barrel. "Heard about last night. Coffee?" 20 minutes later, we sat at Murphy's Diner, the kind of blue-collar establishment where Nessa would never be caught. Marty, built like a refrigerator with arms, stirred his coffee and studied me with the calculating look that had made him legendary in local bar fights. "So you really did it," he said. "I really did." "How you feeling?" I considered the question. "Lighter, like I've been carrying something heavy for months and finally set it down." "And the other woman? Elara?" "She's not the other woman. She's the other victim." I pulled out my phone, showing him the timeline we'd constructed. "Look at this. Every Thursday for 6 months. Same pattern, same locations. They weren't even trying to be creative." Marty scrolled through the evidence, whistling low. "This is some detective-level work, Brent. You sure you're not going overboard?" Overboard would be what they were planning for me. I told him about the documents Elara had found, the setup that would have painted me as an abusive husband. His expression darkened. "They were going to frame you?" "That was the plan. Create a narrative, document my violent tendencies, and use it to justify taking everything in the divorce. But you flipped it." I flipped it. Marty leaned back in his booth, a slow grin spreading across his face. "You know what this means, right? War." "What do you mean?" "Nessa's not going to take this lying down. She's going to fight back, try to control the story, make you look like the bad guy. You better be ready." He was right, of course. By noon, my phone was buzzing with calls from mutual friends, people from Nessa's real estate office, even my own customers. The story was spreading, but not the way I'd expected. "Brent, it's Jennifer from the bike shop. I just wanted to say I'm sorry about what happened. Nessa called this morning crying, saying you'd had some kind of breakdown and were making false accusations." I thanked Jennifer and hung up, already seeing Nessa's strategy. She was playing the victim, painting me as unstable, trying to get ahead of the narrative. My phone rang again. This time it was Detective Gina Costa, an old friend who'd left the force to run security for downtown businesses. "Brent, what the hell is going on? I've got 3 people telling me 3 different stories about last night." I gave her the condensed version, focusing on facts rather than emotions. Gina listened without interrupting, occasionally asking for clarification. "You documented everything?" "Everything." "And this Elara woman, she's legitimate?" "She's an accountant, Gina. Documentation is her specialty." There was a pause. "Brent, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be straight with me. Are you planning anything aggressive?" "Define aggressive." "You know what I mean. Revenge, payback, something that might cross legal lines." I thought about my answer carefully. "I'm planning to protect myself and my assets from people who tried to manipulate and frame me. If that makes them uncomfortable, that's their problem. Just be careful. Divorce brings out the worst in people. Don't let this turn into something that ruins your life, too. After she hung up, I realized Gina was right about one thing. Nessa would escalate. She'd always been competitive, always needed to win. Being publicly humiliated would only make her more dangerous. I called Elara. "How are you holding up?" I asked. "Better than expected. Callan tried to come home this morning. I had the locks changed." "Smart. What's his next move?" "He's staying at his gym for now. I think he's in shock. He never expected me to find out, let alone team up with you. We need to stay ahead of them. They're going to try to control the narrative, make us look like the villains. Already happening. I got a call from my sister this morning. Apparently, Callan's been telling people I'm having a nervous breakdown and making up stories about him. Same playbook as Nessa. Deny, deflect, play victim. So what do we do? I looked around my garage at the half-finished motorcycles and the tools that represented 20 years of honest work. We stick to facts, we document everything, and we make sure the truth comes out before their lies take root. "There's something else," Elara said. "I found more documents last night, financial records. Colin's been planning this for longer than we thought." "What kind of records?" "Loan applications. He was trying to get financing for a new gym location, using projected income that included your wife's real estate commissions." The audacity took my breath away. They were planning to merge their lives financially. It gets worse. I found a lease agreement draft for an apartment downtown. Both their names are on it. When was it dated? Next month. They were going to move in together while the divorces were pending. I felt something cold settle in my stomach. This wasn't just an affair, it was a calculated takeover of our lives. They'd planned to destroy our marriages, take our assets, and start fresh together. "Elara, we need to meet. Tonight. There's something I want to show you." "What?" "Evidence that's going to change everything." That evening, Elara came to my garage. I'd spent the afternoon organizing everything I'd collected over the past months, not just about the affair, but about Nessa's business practices, her real estate deals, her relationships with clients. "Look at this," I said, spreading documents across my workbench. "These are Nessa's commission records for the past year. Notice anything?" Elara studied the papers with her accountant's eye. "The amounts don't match the sale prices. She's reporting lower commissions than she should be earning. Now look at these." I showed her bank statements I'd copied before Nessa could hide them. Cash deposits that don't correspond to any recorded sales. She's been hiding income, probably to minimize what you'd get in a divorce settlement. And here's the interesting part. I pulled out a folder marked Client Files. These are copies of contracts from her office computer. Look at the terms. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Elara read through several documents, her expression growing darker. These aren't standard real estate commissions. She's been charging clients extra fees for expedited processing and premium services. Services that don't exist. She's been running a side business, skimming money from clients and hiding it from the IRS. This is fraud, Brent. Serious fraud. I know. And here's the best part. Callan's been helping her. Look at these gym membership records. I showed her a list I'd obtained through a friend who worked at the athletic club. Several of Nessa's real estate clients had joined Callan's gym immediately after closing on their houses. He was recruiting her clients, probably getting kickbacks for referrals. A whole network of deception, Elara murmured. They weren't just cheating on us. They were cheating everyone. The question is, what do we do with this information? Elara was quiet for a long moment, studying the evidence. When she looked up, her expression was determined. We expose them. All of it. The affair, the fraud, the conspiracy. We make sure everyone knows exactly who they really are. That's a dangerous game, Elara. Once we go public with this, there's no taking it back. Good. I don't want to take it back. They tried to destroy our lives to build their own. It's time they faced consequences. I nodded, feeling something shift inside me. The hurt and betrayal were still there, but they were being replaced by something else. Purpose. Then we need a plan. A real plan. Something that exposes them completely, but keeps us protected legally. I have some ideas, Elara said. But first, we need more allies, people who know them, who've been affected by their actions. I know just the person to start with. I picked up my phone and dialed Pam's number. Nessa's business partner answered on the second ring. Brent? Oh my God, I've been trying to reach you all day. Nessa's been calling everyone, saying the most terrible things. Pam, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest. How long have you known about Nessa's side business? There was a long pause. What side business? The one where she charges clients extra fees for services that don't exist. The one where she hides income from the IRS. The one where she partners with her lover to recruit clients for his gym. Another pause, longer this time. Brent, we need to talk. In person. Tonight. My garage, 1 hour. After I hung up, Elara looked at me with something approaching admiration. You've been planning this for a while, haven't you? Since the day I found the first hotel receipt, I learned a long time ago that the best defense is a good offense. And if they try to fight back, I gestured around my garage at the tools and machinery that represented my livelihood. Then they'll discover that underestimating me was their first mistake, and their last. Pam arrived at my garage looking like she'd aged 5 years in one day. Her usually perfect makeup was smudged, and her hands shook as she clutched a manila folder against her chest. I should have called you months ago, she said without preamble. I should have warned you. Elara and I exchanged glances. Warned me about what? I asked. Everything. The affair, the money, the plan to frame you. Pam sat heavily on my workbench stool. I've been documenting it all, waiting for the right moment. She opened her folder, revealing a treasure trove of evidence that made my collection look amateur. Bank records, email printouts, recorded phone conversations, even photographs taken with a telephoto lens. Pam, why didn't you? Because I was scared, she interrupted. Nessa's been stealing from clients for 2 years. When I confronted her about it, she threatened to destroy me, said she'd claim I was the one embezzling, that she'd been trying to stop me. Elara leaned forward, studying the documents. These are detailed financial records. You've been tracking every fraudulent transaction. I had to protect myself. I knew eventually it would all come out, and I didn't want to go down with her. I felt a surge of respect for Pam. She'd been playing a longer game than any of us, gathering evidence while maintaining her cover. What changed? I asked. Why come forward now? Because this morning, she asked me to lie for her. She wants me to tell everyone that you've been abusive, that she was afraid of you, that the affair was her way of escaping a dangerous marriage. The words hit me like a physical blow. Even knowing it was coming, hearing the plan laid out so clearly was staggering. She's going to claim domestic abuse? Worse, she's going to claim you threatened to hurt Callan. She wants to get a restraining order, make it look like you're unstable and violent. Elara's face had gone pale. Callan's been saying similar things about Brent, that he's been making threats, acting erratically. They're coordinating their stories, I realized, building a narrative that paints us as the aggressors. Pam nodded grimly. Nessa's meeting with a lawyer tomorrow morning. She's going to file for an emergency restraining order and claim you've been threatening her. Based on what evidence? She's been recording your arguments, editing them to make you sound threatening. She's also been taking photos of herself with makeup that looks like bruises. The room went quiet as the implications sank in. They weren't just trying to win a divorce. They were trying to destroy us completely. We need to get ahead of this, Elara said. Tonight. Agreed, but we need to be smart about it. I turned to Pam. Are you willing to go public with what you know? If it means stopping Nessa from destroying innocent people, yes. Then here's what we're going to do. I outlined my plan. It was risky, aggressive, and would require perfect timing. But if it worked, it would expose Nessa and Callan completely while protecting Elara and me from their false accusations. First, we need to document everything we have, not just copies, official records that can't be dismissed as forgeries. I can help with that, Elara said. I know people at the courthouse, the bank, the IRS. We can get authenticated copies of everything. Second, we need witnesses. People who've been affected by their actions, who can testify to their character and methods. Pam pulled out her phone. I have a list of clients Nessa's been overcharging. Most of them don't even know they've been defrauded. Third, we need to control the timing. If we wait for them to file their false reports, we'll be playing defense. We need to go on offense. What did you have in mind? Elara asked. I smiled, feeling the pieces click into place. We're going to give them exactly what they want, a public confrontation, but on our terms, with our evidence, in front of witnesses they can't intimidate or manipulate. The next evening, I sat at the steel barrel with Marty, nursing a beer and watching the door. The bar was crowded for a Thursday night, filled with the usual mix of construction workers, mechanics, and other blue-collar regulars who knew me from my motorcycle business. You sure about this? Marty asked for the 10th time. Positive. They'll come. Nessa can't resist a dramatic scene, especially if she thinks she has the upper hand. I'd spent the day executing my plan. First, I'd contacted every person on Pam's client list, informing them about the fraudulent charges on their real estate transactions. The responses had been swift and angry. 3 clients had already filed complaints with the state real estate board. Second, I'd visited the courthouse with Elara, filing official complaints about Callan's unlicensed personal training business and his tax evasion. We'd also submitted Pam's evidence to the district attorney's office. Third, and most importantly, I'd sent both Nessa and Callan a simple text message. Steel barrel, 8 p.m., time to settle this face-to-face. At 8:15, they arrived together, confirming what I'd suspected. They were coordinating their response. Nessa wore her victim costume, minimal makeup, a conservative dress, and an expression of wounded innocence. Callan flanked her like a bodyguard, his gym-built physique meant to intimidate. The bar went quiet as they entered. Word had spread about the divorce, and everyone was curious to see how it would play out. Brent, Nessa called across the room, her voice carrying just the right note of fearful determination. We need to talk. Then talk, I replied, not moving from my stool. Nothing stopping you. They approached slowly, Callan's eyes scanning the room for threats that didn't exist. When they reached my table, Nessa sat across from me, while Callan remained standing. This has gone far enough, she began. We can work this out privately, without involving lawyers and courts and making a public spectacle. Really? That's interesting, considering you filed for a restraining order this morning. Her mask slipped for just a moment, surprise flickering across her face. How did you know about it? Because I have friends at the courthouse, Nessa. Friends who keep me informed about legal proceedings involving my name. Callan leaned forward, trying to look menacing. You need to stop harassing our families, Brent. Leave Nessa alone, stop calling Elara, and move on with your life. I laughed, genuinely amused. Harassing? Is that what you call exposing fraud and adultery? Interesting perspective. We're not here to play games, Nessa said. I'm offering you a chance to end this cleanly. Accept the divorce terms I'm proposing, stop spreading lies about me, and we can all move forward. What lies would those be? You know exactly what I'm talking about. The accusations about my business practices, the claims about financial impropriety. Oh, you mean the evidence I submitted to the state real estate board this morning? The same evidence the district attorney's office is now reviewing? The color drained from her face. Behind her, I could see other bar patrons leaning in, listening to every word. "You're bluffing," Callan said, but his voice lacked conviction. "Am I?" I pulled out my phone, opening the email confirmations I'd received. Case number 2024 REB 0847 with the real estate board. Investigation number DA 2024 1129 with the prosecutor's office. Would you like me to read the charges? "Brent, please." Nessa's voice cracked. "We can work this out. I made mistakes, but we don't need to destroy each other." Destroy each other? Nessa, you tried to frame me for domestic abuse. You were planning to take my business, my home, my reputation, and now you want to negotiate? You never what? Never recorded our arguments and edited them to make me sound threatening? Never took photos with fake bruises? Never planned to claim I was violent and unstable? The bar had gone completely silent now. Everyone was watching, and I could see phones appearing as people started recording. I was protecting myself. From what? From discovering that you've been stealing from your clients? From learning that you and Callan have been running a fraudulent scheme for 2 years? Callan finally lost his composure. "You don't know what you're talking about, you pathetic loser. Nessa deserves better than some grease monkey who plays with motorcycles all day." The insult hung in the air like a challenge. Around us, the bar patrons, many of them my customers and friends, shifted restlessly. "You're right," I said calmly. "She does deserve better. She deserves someone who matches her character, someone dishonest, manipulative, and willing to steal from innocent people. Congratulations, Callan. You're perfect for each other." "We're leaving," Nessa announced, standing abruptly. "This is harassment, and I'm documenting everything for my lawyer." "Good idea," I replied. "Make sure you mention the part where you admitted to recording our private conversations without consent. That's illegal in this state, by the way." She froze, realizing her mistake. In her anger, she'd confirmed one of the charges against her. "Oh, and Nessa? You might want to check your business bank account. The state froze it pending investigation. Something about suspected embezzlement." Her face went white. "They can't do that." "They can. And they did. Turns out when you submit detailed evidence of financial fraud, prosecutors take it seriously." Callan grabbed her arm, trying to pull her toward the exit. "Come on, we're done here." But Nessa wasn't finished. "You think you've won? You think destroying my career and my reputation makes you some kind of hero? You're nothing, Brent. You've always been nothing. A mediocre man with a mediocre life who couldn't keep his wife satisfied." The words were meant to wound, but they just made me smile. "You're right again, Nessa. I am mediocre. I work with my hands, I fix things for a living, and I believe in keeping my word. Compared to someone who lies, cheats, and steals for a living, mediocre looks pretty good." The bar erupted in applause and laughter. Nessa looked around wildly, realizing she'd lost the room completely. "This isn't over," she hissed. "Yes," I said quietly, "it is." They left quickly after that, Callan practically dragging Nessa through the crowd of hostile faces. The moment the door closed behind them, the bar exploded in conversation. Marty clapped me on the shoulder. "Well, that was something. It was necessary. What happens now?" I finished my beer and stood up. Now they face the consequences of their choices. The real estate board will revoke Nessa's license. The DA will prosecute the fraud charges, and everyone in town will know exactly who they really are. And you? I go back to my garage, finish the bikes I'm working on, and build a life based on honesty instead of deception. As I walked home through the quiet streets, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. Not happiness. That would come later. But peace. The deep satisfaction of knowing I'd fought for myself and won. The war was over, and the truth had prevailed. 3 days after the confrontation at the steel barrel, my phone rang at 6 in the morning. It was Elara, and she sounded shaken. "Brent, you need to see this. They're fighting back." 20 minutes later, I sat in her kitchen, staring at a laptop screen that displayed a Facebook post with over 200 shares. The post, written by someone named Truth Teller, painted a vivid picture of an abusive husband who had manipulated his wife's business partner into fabricating evidence of financial misconduct. "This is sophisticated," I admitted. "They're not just denying the charges, they're creating an alternate narrative." It gets worse. Elara clicked through several more posts, each building on the same theme. They've created fake social media accounts, fake reviews of your business, even fake testimonials from supposed victims of your violent behavior. I read through the posts, impressed despite myself by their thoroughness. Someone had clearly spent considerable time crafting a believable counter-story. The question is, how do we respond? "We don't," Elara said firmly. "We let the legal system handle it. The evidence speaks for itself." But over the next week, I realized that wasn't enough. The fake narrative was spreading faster than the truth. Potential customers canceled orders. Friends began asking uncomfortable questions. Even Marty seemed uncertain when I met him for coffee. "Look, I believe you," he said. "But some of this stuff online, it's pretty convincing. It's all fabricated, Marty, every single post." "I know that. But other people don't. And perception becomes reality pretty quick in a small town." He was right. By Friday, my business had lost 3 major contracts. The motorcycle shop where I bought parts started asking for payment up front. Even my landlord called to check in about my lease. That evening, I sat in my garage, surrounded by half-finished projects I might not be able to complete. For the first time since this began, I felt truly defeated. Nessa and Callan had found my weakness, my reputation in the community that supported my business. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Having second thoughts yet? It's not too late to make a deal. N." I stared at the message, understanding the implicit threat. They would continue their campaign until I capitulated, agreed to their terms, and let them escape consequences for their actions. I was about to delete the message when another text arrived, this one from Pam. "Emergency meeting. My office? Now. Bring Elara." 30 minutes later, the 3 of us sat in Pam's real estate office, which she'd been struggling to keep open since Nessa's arrest had become public knowledge. "I found something," Pam said without preamble. "Something that changes everything." She opened her laptop, showing us a series of email exchanges between Nessa and someone identified only as Digital Solutions LLC. "What am I looking at?" I asked. "A contract for reputation management services. Nessa hired a company that specializes in creating fake online personas and manufacturing social media campaigns." Elara leaned forward, studying the screen. "This is the smoking gun, proof that they're deliberately fabricating evidence against you." "It gets better," Pam continued. "Look at the payment schedule." The invoices showed payments of $5,000 per month for 6 months, dating back to before our confrontation at Romano's restaurant. They've been planning this character assassination for half a year, I realized. This wasn't a desperate response to being caught. It was always part of their strategy. And here's the best part. Pam clicked to another folder. "I have access to Nessa's business email account. She never removed me as an authorized user. I've been monitoring everything." The emails revealed the full scope of their plan. Not only had they hired a company to destroy my reputation, but they'd also been working with a lawyer who specialized in what he called aggressive divorce tactics. "Look at this," Elara pointed to one particular message. "They were planning to claim you had hidden assets, that your motorcycle business was more profitable than you'd reported. They were going to audit your finances, freeze your accounts, and force you to prove your innocence while they controlled the narrative," Pam added. I sat back, overwhelmed by the systematic nature of their deception. This isn't just revenge. It's a complete destruction campaign. "Which means we need to respond in kind," Elara said quietly. What do you mean? I mean, we stop playing defense and start playing offense. We expose not just their crimes, but their methods. We show everyone exactly how they operate. How? Elara smiled, and for the first time since I'd met her, she looked genuinely dangerous. We give them a taste of their own medicine. The plan we developed over the next 2 hours was ambitious, risky, and completely legal. Using Pam's continued access to Nessa's email account, we would document every aspect of their fraud campaign. Then, we would release it all at once, creating an information tsunami that would overwhelm their ability to respond. The key is timing, Elara explained. We need to coordinate the release with the legal proceedings. Maximum impact, minimum opportunity for them to spin it. What about the fake social media campaign? We have evidence of that too now. The contract with Digital Solutions, the payment records, even some of the original drafts of the fake posts. We can prove it's all manufactured. Pam pulled up another screen. I also found something else. Nessa's been using her real estate license to access personal information about you, Brent. Credit reports, property records, even medical information from when you applied for business insurance. That's illegal. Very illegal. It's identity theft, violation of privacy laws, and abuse of her professional license. I felt a familiar anger building, but this time, it was focused and purposeful. Then let's make sure everyone knows about it. The next morning, we executed our plan with military precision. Elara submitted the new evidence to the district attorney's office. Pam filed complaints with the state real estate board and the state attorney general's office. I contacted a local journalist who had been following the story of small business fraud in our area. By noon, the story had exploded across local media. Not just the original charges of financial fraud, but the systematic campaign of character assassination, the illegal access to private information, and the coordinated effort to manipulate legal proceedings. The fake social media posts suddenly looked different when viewed alongside evidence of the company that had created them. The testimonials from supposed victims became obviously fabricated when compared to the email drafts we'd recovered. My phone started ringing with calls from customers who had canceled orders, apologizing and asking to reinstate their contracts. The motorcycle parts supplier called to remove the payment restrictions. Even my landlord called to apologize for questioning my lease. But the real vindication came that afternoon when Detective Gina Costa called with an update. Brent, I thought you should know. We arrested Callan this morning on charges of identity theft and computer fraud. Apparently, he's been using his gym's computer system to access personal information about clients and selling it to marketing companies. What about Nessa? She's looking at multiple felony charges now. The evidence you provided about the social media campaign pushed this into federal territory. Wire fraud, conspiracy, identity theft. She's going away for a long time. And the restraining order? Dismissed with prejudice. The judge wasn't happy about being manipulated with fabricated evidence. After I hung up, I sat in my garage for a long time, processing everything that had happened. 6 months ago, I'd been a man whose wife was cheating on him. Now, I was someone who had exposed a criminal conspiracy and protected not just himself, but other innocent victims. My phone buzzed with one final text from Nessa's number. You destroyed everything. I hope you're satisfied. I stared at the message for a moment, then typed my response. I didn't destroy anything. I just stopped letting you destroy me. Then I blocked the number and went back to work on the motorcycle I'd been building. It was a custom job for a client who had specifically requested my services after reading about the case in the newspaper. Apparently, standing up to bullies was good for business. As I worked, I thought about Elara, who had called earlier to say she was moving to a new city for a fresh start. We'd become friends through this ordeal, bonded by shared experience and mutual respect. But we both understood that our lives were moving in different directions now. The truth had set us both free, but freedom meant different things to different people. For me, It meant the simple satisfaction of honest work, honest relationships, and the knowledge that I had fought for myself when it mattered most. The garage was quiet except for the sound of tools and the occasional rumble of a motorcycle engine. Outside, the world continued its complicated dance of love and betrayal, truth and deception. But inside my workspace, surrounded by the machines I understood and the projects that challenged me, everything made sense. I had won, not by becoming like my enemies, but by refusing to let them make me less than I was. And that, I realized, was the only victory that truly mattered.